Brought to you by New Jersey Sharing Network.
Welcome back to Life and Living. One of my favorite subjects. Yes, I'm pregnant, so no, I can't drink the beer, but we're here to talk about beer. I'm here joined in the studio right now by Brendan O'Neill, who's head brewer at NJ Beer Co., which is located in?
North Bergen, New Jersey.
North Bergen, New Jersey is probably not a place that many people think of as having a local brewery. But here you are.
Yeah, we're Hudson County's only brewery right now. There's one more coming up our tail in Jersey City. He's almost open. And 5 years ago when our founder started the place, it was cheap and it was nearby and it had the trucking access that we needed. So it's worked out pretty well. With the exception of some rough stuff for Irene and Sandy, it's been a pretty good spot for us, and the town's been really accommodating as well.
How did you get involved with brewing?
I started brewing as a child with my dad in the basement.
I don't know if we should talk about this.
It's okay. It's pretty widely known at this point. So this will not be the first place anybody hears that. So yeah, I started brewing as a young child. I homebrewed with my father until around middle school, kept up with some of it in high school, but that was getting to like borderline legality territory, and then I picked it back up again when I got to college.
What did you learn from your dad in that process?
Write everything down. No matter what you do, you know, every little thing that happens throughout the process, every little ingredient, everything. So if it comes
every
up,
adjustment.
Every single thing.
And
yeah.
your dad was not a professional brewer. He just did this for fun. Did it in the basement?
Yes, yeah. He was actually a TV producer.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was a hobby of his.
Correct, yeah.
Was it a hobby of yours or was it a bad childhood memory?
I enjoyed it. It was fun. Aside from the occasional berating from my mom to get out of the kitchen,
right.
You know, because it wastes a fair amount of a Saturday afternoon when she would want the kitchen. But other than that, no, I don't associate with a bad childhood memory.
And I say that in jest. I'm sure
fine.
you probably have a lot of fond memories of doing that with your dad. So at what point did you decide to make this your career?
About 5 years ago, I had kicked around a couple other industries. I had my own small business for a while. I went and worked for a friend outside Philadelphia for a year, and I came back to northern New Jersey, and a friend of mine, Matt Steinberg, decided he was going to open a brewery in North Bergen. He got a business loan, he secured the equipment, and through a couple months of, you know, learning and laboring, we managed to get the brewery open and get the first beer out the door in May of 2010.
So here's a loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
What does it take to make a good beer and to market it and make it successful?
There are two entirely, if not three, entirely different tasks.
Let's break it apart. What does it take to make a great beer?
Making a great beer takes a couple things. It takes consistency and it takes great ingredients. And it helps if the water is good, which North Jersey is really, really good for.
It's what makes our pizza good, it's what makes our bagels good.
We're right down the street from Hudson Bread, which is in North Bergen, which is a gigantic bakery. So, and our water comes from northern New Jersey, and it's pretty good for what we need in it. The mineral contents, the salt content, et cetera, and the pH.
How do you market the beer? How do you get it out there?
So we don't really market very much. We just rely on word of mouth, and we hit the streets with our sales guy and our distributor sales force, but there's not a whole lot of marketing. You won't see our TV commercials, you won't see billboards, you won't even see very many print ads. We do a little bit of stuff in Jersey City and Hudson County, but it's relatively minimal. We rely on the internet, and we rely on events.
Is that because of the size of the company? You're small?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. It's definitely some cost too. Everything costs money, and we'd rather put money back into ingredients, packaging, fixing up things that break. And the word of mouth thing works pretty well in this industry. People who are looking for beer, they'll find what they're looking for. You know, we have that a lot too. We have a pretty good online presence. So if you just punch up breweries in New Jersey, we're going to come up.
So can we talk about the beers that you make?
Sure.
And you've brought some samples here for us. Let's start here. We've got the 1787 Abbey Single Ale.
Yeah. It's a 4.5% Belgian. It's a pretty straightforward ale, fermented at a relatively moderate temperature, which kind of keeps the Belgian yeast in check. It's sort of similar to a Stella in that it's an easy drinking, like 4.5% entry beer.
We've got the Hudson Pale Ale. I have my eye on it. I'll be drinking it in 2 months.
That is our 6% American Pale Ale. It's pretty bitter, but it's not as bitter as an IPA, and it's got enough body to stand up to the hops that we use in it.
Okay, and I love the names. The Garden State Stout.
The Garden State Stout has a decent amount of critical acclaim, thankfully, from a couple different sources. One in New York and a couple other write-ups in magazines. It's a 7% stout brewed with oats, a ton of different malts, including chocolate barley, roasted barley, and a couple other caramel specialty malts. And then at the very end of the brew process, we add chocolate and raisins to the end of the boil. So the chocolate and the raisins get sort of dispersed throughout the brew at the end there. That's the only adjunct we use in our beer. Adjuncts are things that are outside the 4 main ingredients of beer, which are yeast, water, malt, and hops.
Okay, we've got the LBPA.
LBIPA.
Oh, LBIPA.
So that's
that
our.
makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that is our summer IPA. It's not a crushing summer beer. It's actually a 7% IPA, so you do have to sort of beware of it. But it's relatively low on the bittering scale and pretty high on the aromatic scale. So you get a real nose full of kind of fruity, citrusy taste backed up by a fairly stable, heavy, malty pale ale.
And then finally, you do make a seasonal, the one that you brought with you today, the Weehawken Wee Heavy.
Yeah, that is our
These are great names.
that one kind of wrote itself. This beer we make about twice a year towards the end of fall and the end of winter as well. It's a 9% Scottish ale. It's pretty caramelly, and it's just a good beer to have around in the winter when it's a little chillier out.
What's exciting about this industry for you?
There are a number of things that are exciting, but I think one of my favorite things is that most people who are relatively small in scale are incredibly helpful to each other. I could call up most of the breweries in the state, ask for help with the problem, and I'll get responses, if not immediate help.
Why is supporting local breweries so important?
It helps sort of boost your own local economy. It gets people out. It gives some people jobs and something to do. And in New Jersey, we're really underserviced with local breweries. We were the 13th to open 5 years ago. Now there are close to 30. And there's another 20 in planning.
So it's a burgeoning market.
It's growing quite quickly, which is great. But there are places like Vermont that have 40 to 50 breweries, and they got less people than Bergen County.
So New Jersey's got a little catching up to do, but right now what people can do is go out and support their local breweries. Brendan O'Neill, head brewer at NJ Beer Co. Thank you so much, and I can guarantee you will be enjoying these later on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Rooney. In 2006, I lost my father to renal disease. He was on the waiting list for a new kidney, but did not receive one in time. Unfortunately, so many like my father have lost their lives while waiting for a life-saving organ. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and by informing people about this important decision. Because you can make a difference and save a life.
Life and Living has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Also brought to you by
the New Jersey Education Association, Virtua, and by NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan.